Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. This is the Daily Dharma. My name is Deana. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and get right into the messages. During the pre-shuffle today, I saw a few different things pop out, and then this is what we ended with at the bottom of the deck. Prosperity was on the cut a few times, once with Divine Masculine and once with Cosmic Flower. And then it came out right on the bottom with Delight, Realization, and Merkaba. 33 on the timer. Let's get into this. So this is intended to be a timeless collective reading the vibrations, the energy, the flow of the divine, most prominent energies, and the highest messages that can help us navigate our journey and our process with others and ourselves. Let's just see what the universe wants to tell us about this prosperity. I was feeling ancestral information coming through, and I was feeling that some specific things are going to be coming out here, and there was something else, a gold mine, no, a diamond mine was how it came out. So with the correction, I was like, it's as if a gold mine, because in the blended shamanic decks here, I had something coming out with Garden of Venus, Crown Games, and in the code cards I did see the Crown card as well. So we've got some of those things coming through. Transition card is on the bottom of the deck. We had that last week. And we had a little spill out here, okay. Allowance with Romantic Love were the upright cards. We'll put those over here to the side. Actually, let me give you a view of that Romantic Love. So surrender to something that's quite desirous, something that you are really looking at. And then the upside down cards here, let's see what we have. We have throat chakra, the fifth chakra, truth, the path forward, our Akashic inheritance speaks through the throat chakra, empowerment, using our voice, drawing things in, using our affirmations, and the attitude of gratitude was another thing that I thought of as I was turning that with prosperity and delight, realization. It's as though we're realizing that we're sitting at the perfect crossroad to either make a crucial decision that will change the course, a course correction, which, so with astrology, excuse me, with the astrology of the moment, we've got a lot of accountability coming through and course correction with Saturn retrograde, talking about like how have I used my choices, my actions, my time, and my resources, and which ones have I overlooked, which ones have I taken for granted, and which things have I overestimated, overesteemed, and need to, reappropriate our energy and our support of the narratives or the resources coming to us, or the perspectives of others, and who we're following, who we're listening to, and is our main guiding force that of the highest nature that could be, or our highest aspect of self. So then the next three cards we have delight, which we saw already, then healing, and belief. So healing our core beliefs about what it is that makes us feel successful, happy, empowered. It's as if in the past we'll have these ego drives and ego thoughts, those crown games that are encroaching and putting pressure, like the social achievement versus like, do we really want a bunch of money? Do we need that to be happy? Not everybody wants money, but that's the easiest thing that most people are like, oh, you gotta go out and get that fame and that money. Those are those masculine, powerful masculine drives and ambitions that the third dimensional self is here to play around with and to figure out how we want to use our energy and what we want to go out and tackle and pull in for ourselves. And empowering our throat chakra here for delight and healing of our belief seems like almost a statement to me. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try to express it the way I'm feeling it. It's that the throat chakra holds not only what we say, but how we feel about it. It's the core beliefs and the heart expression of desire that are coming together. And it's the entire chakra system is intermingled and almost indistinguishable from your totality, I want to say. And in that smaller piece of the third dimensional self, with its reaching across into the fourth dimensional aspects of reality creation and thought forms and precursors of material, and then beyond that to the fifth dimensional intentionality and the energetic flow and the ability that we have to harness creative impulses in the moment and to take that spiritual flow and join it with the fourth dimensional focus and perspectives and belief structures, and then it comes into the entirety of what we've got going on, right, and expresses that smaller harmonic with the flow of the apparent outside flow. So it seems like us against our limitations, but the limitations are the same things such as gravity and groundedness and our third dimensional pleasurable centers and seeking for that centered alignment with the body and the sensual forces. I'm kind of going on multiple tangents at once, but the throat chakra is more complex than just the expression of thoughts and beliefs. I want to express that it transcends everything that we might focus on in the moment. I'm feeling this gut. Whew, wow. It was an enormous rush from the gut. As soon as I tried to put my attention on it, it went through my head and I felt like I was almost high for a moment, like something came through me. So where I was at is it's more than the expression of what we can conceive and perceive in that third dimensional. It's the flow of the totality of the soul self is how I want to say this. And so the throat chakra, allowing our journey and our path and our intention and the flow with those forces that surround us I know where I was at. It was as if those limiting forces are the structure. It's the divine matrix that we stand upon in our third dimensional self that can actually take the hands of God, work through us when we're empowering our throat chakra, or when it's disempowered, the hands are still trying to do the work and molding the clay of the matrix that surrounds us. We're all these divine co-creators. And so I'm seeing this as the inner impulses not leading us in the way of immediate gratification, but the truer undercurrents of what we're here to do is rising up and speaking through us, and we're using our sensual experience with the flow of all that is to understand that we're at the perfect position, this attitude of gratitude coming through, and taking a moment to take that deep breath and be appreciative of everything we've encountered and where we're at and what this means for our healing journey. I feel like it's like a marking, a place that isn't as marked on the way in as it is on the way back. Once we get beyond this point, we'll look back and think that this was a crucial turning point and that something very crucial being expressed, maybe innocently, humbly, or without forethought, just comes stumbling forth and creates this realization of how to take that information and to express it to the right people or in the right moment or something like that, where it's the surrender to the romantic experience. In romance, I mean like the entire... Yeah, okay. So I feel like I've expressed that enough, and that we'll come back to pieces as we go through the shamanic decks. I'm splitting the deck here, and I come up with Sweat Lodge, and on the bottom of the deck, Feast of Plenty, choices and their consequences. Right. Yeah, the crossroads. Do you see how both of those bubbles, and the way that we look at it, it's almost like this here, and the peeking out below that, I'm seeing Caterpillar, opportunity below that, Sweat Lodge card here. So just kind of looking at these real quick, I'm seeing Sweat Lodge as the entry point to this decision. So there's 1111. So this entry point, and the shadow is following, and I'm always aware that the shadow of this figure is different than the one that appears in the third dimension. Do you see that foreground, how the shadow cast is much different? I want to just kind of draw that back to what we're talking about, the totality of self. I don't know, sometimes it's hard to express in human language all of the feeling that comes with what spirit or the powers that be are trying to express. But it's as if I'm seeing almost, okay, it appears that the doorway is a sliver opening, but I'm seeing a little bit larger aura around that doorway that looks as if the front part of the shell is cracked open, and the center is a pillar. It's almost like a beam me up Scotty, but I'm not feeling alien abduction by any means. I don't feel like that is what it is. It feels as though this is an entry point where we are standing in our full alignment, full Merkaba field, that 360-degree vision surrounding the moment, and just saying, I have all of these choices. I could be or do or express this any way that I want, and this is the choice, standing in that enlightenment, knowing the full intention and multi-paths and the choices and their consequences, right? And so it's like that obstacle course that comes through in the different Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider type things, or there's so many different things that the hero of the story and their group are entering this cave with many different obstacles, traps, and little triggers. You step on this one little tiny thing, and then swords or bullets or spears, or the floor falls out from below you. And it seems to be talking about the difference between surrender to beauty and to the receptive mode, and to receiving all of these opportunities and allowing other people's decisions and consequences to sit with them, and not to borrow those anxieties, like, what does this person's action mean about me, or what does that mean about the future? The future is always unknown, but we could put our projected future out, but really that's a point of borrowing anxiety. We could overwhelm ourselves with rehashing and reliving the past with nostalgia for the positive or negative, or rehashing our choices from previous, but we can't really redo them. So going and obsessing with the past puts us in that point of shame, guilt, or even depression, or grief and depression. or shame and fear possibly with the future or the past. And so it's something about having the presence of mind to surrender to the flow, to accept and allow that whatever is has perfectly positioned us in the point of walking into that next step. We have to trust that the space in between touch points is the point where we're given opportunities to operate the free will that comes through. And in that perception of, oh, well, I could step here, it's like the ground is in that moment shown to us piece by piece by piece as we flow with it, versus if we're in anxiety or grief or despair, then that spiral takes our vibration into a place that isn't as productive and isn't going to deliver us to where we really truly want to be as fast. So I'm seeing this as this, it's a point of alignment, this choice point. And here we have this predictable pathway coming up and delivering to this point. And then I'm seeing that based on those choices and consequences, we're maybe dodging bullets or we're bypassing fears, or FEAR. Sometimes we are told that stands for false evidence appearing real. So it's as though our reality is not as predetermined in this moment as it is based upon our choices and our belief in our healing, that what has come before has created this perfect moment to create our perfect future. And perfect doesn't mean all sunshine and rainbows, of course. The good and the bad and the ugly are necessary. So yeah, there's some kind of an opportunity to be seen well, I'm feeling with this card right now. It's like unexpectedly an opportunity because we're in the flow. And see how that person is kind of twisted and going up. This card is always something different for me. It seems like in the moment we're kind of looking, it's that 360 degree vision. Look at all those eyeballs in every direction. And it's the moment of choice and judgment in the moment to deliver us where we need to go. So then Jaguar coming up as well as I'm trying to get this shuffle. So I don't know if you have a familiar, maybe even a black cat, black dog, something like that. I'm feeling that rush in my head again. I don't know if you need to sit down with an animal, or maybe this is just representing your own little shamanic quest in the moment through some sort of meditation. And for some of you, this may have happened over the weekend. And I'm recording this on June 21st, the solstice gateway, when the sun enters into the sign of Cancer, and we have the longest day in the northern hemisphere and the longest night in the southern hemisphere, for those that aren't familiar. First card popping out, Spirit of the River, movement toward adventure. So I feel like that is that caterpillar turning around that from the point that we've been focused on and just kind of perusing the landscape and coming across to something we perhaps didn't see coming up behind us or beside us, and all of a sudden the focus is transfixed on something delightful, some kind of healing moment, or a point of healing, a core belief, or that core shame for some people that has been either projected upon you or misconstrued over the journey so far, that heavy journey. And it's like the Spirit of the River feels like a cleansing moment where there's this deep dive in that moment of clarity where we're free and we witness the liberation and the truer sense of self kind of emerging and being washed clean, gathering around the power of community under the deck. And these two sneaking in: Horseman, Herald of Change, appropriate with the transition card, and the Rattle. And my rattle right here, I might have to get that out for us. So maybe you've joined with some other individuals or gotten out of the house or recently met some individuals, but there's some aspect of socialization, possibly more supportive, like-minded individuals with these cards coming out, or just the decision to do so. It's the awareness of new opportunity and new people coming into the life, new groups, new adventures. Okay, a few popping out. And under the deck, we have Stars in the Sky, Limitless Possibility. Again, very meditative, but I'm kind of seeing this as being lit up. It's as though in that vortex of alignment there, this is almost I'm feeling the product or the choices, consequences coming through, the consequence of being in alignment and having the perception to witness those opportunities and to step into new associations or new partnerships or new situations here is lighting you up. And I'm seeing this as a light body activation, and maybe that's why I'm feeling that gut instinct lighting up and transforming me in that moment. It's like being a beacon of light yourself here and creating a bridge. Like the mountains in the background seem to me that harsh journey of the past, and then the connection with the cosmos being your natural state, but then the third dimensional, fourth dimensional dilemmas here under the bridge that you've just possibly cleansed through that water. And now that water in that healing moment has proceeded, it's like you now are this bridge between one mountain and the next. And I'm seeing you as some kind of a gatekeeper here, some type of emissary of light, a messenger of light. And now that you've taken that full portal or alignment activation here, you're lit up, and now both hands are then pushing up energy. It's like you're exchanging data, I want to say, with the universe at large, but also you're becoming a beacon of light, an attraction point for others that are seeking something that you have to convey. So all of us have a message, and all of us have someone that we can help. So there's this, it could be somebody helping you as well. I mean, since these are general, you'll have to take that as you can. Oh, and I'm seeing that Spirit of the River is the 50, and Stars in the Sky is the 51 card. And even though it's a blended deck, those two are from the same deck. And then this one was upside down, Galactic Mushroom, the Divine Matrix. We already were talking about Divine Matrix. Interesting, huh? 24. And then let's take these from bottom to top. Okay. Magician's Sword, confidence in our magic. Tree of Life, I saw this one on the pre-shuffle. 58. And then we have Empty Well, 16, and 60 Watchers, transpersonal. So it's funny how some of these words have already come through. So I'm seeing that Stars in the Sky, limitless possibility. I'm is that the gatherer? Okay. So I'm seeing that this here as what this activation code can give to others. So this is somebody more maybe still in their shell and shedding their skin. I don't know if somebody here has any type of connection to ancient Egyptian energies, but whether or not this is the right one, I'm feeling, trying to see this image. It's kind of moving in the moment. It looks more like a lion, and the lion is the feminine, but I'm seeing it and feeling Horus. So anyways, take that as you will, but I'm seeing this as an activation code that then you are able to help other individuals with, and then they kind of have their own illuminating experience. And this to me looks like a tower card, and I was thinking of the tower with the preceding card of the 16 empty well. So these seem to be connected. So empty well seems to me like the jump point where you're coming from. It's like trying and trying and trying to get to the bottom of something, and recognizing that once you get to the bottom of the well, it's as if you've been cabling yourself down to the depths to try to get some sustenance from some type of person or experience that it wasn't forthcoming. And in the moment of reaching the bottom and having that dry well, or maybe just some muddy or leftover water, it's an empty pursuit. And then looking back up at the cosmos above, perhaps all of these stars in the sky here, and it's that ring of fire too. It's like a propulsion point, that choice. And okay, and I'm also getting, it's that descending spiral that is going back into the past to put things in proper perspective. It's the healing journey that wants to go back to retrace our steps, to somehow determine where things could have been different, what choices were made, and choices and their consequences. And also I sense a seeking to heal family, friends, or situations that recur in one's life by leaning into it and trying to assist with others. And then all of a sudden, in the moment where we are having that epiphany, that choice point, allowing ourselves and our own needs to dominate and our own joy to take prominent position and prominent priority in our lives, it's this realization that we cannot find healing in another. We can't heal for another. We can't find healing by continuing to peel the scar or pick at the scar. It's only going to continue to bleed if we keep picking at it, right? It needs time to heal, not focus. And so I'm seeing this as somebody who reaches that bottom point, and it doesn't have to be rock bottom, but for some of us, this definitely over the last few months can seem like an ego crisis, an identity crisis, or for those having critical Pluto or Saturn returns while they're in retrograde. This seems to be it seems to be a point where we've done what we came to do in that, and then as we catapult up, I'm doing this out of order because I'm seeing it out of order. I hope that you follow, but I'm seeing that as you, like, have you ever, as a child, I used to have these competitions in the neighbor's pool, and we'd see who could go down to the bottom and sit at the bottom of the water the longest, hold your breath, and then we kick off as fast as possible, and we propel ourselves upward and outward from the water. And I'm seeing that as this experience of awareness of that, the eye of the needle here, that intentionality, and being able to shoot up into those cosmic what do I want to say? Cosmic flow, the cosmic flow of the universe, right? Being able to put ourselves through the eye of the needle this is the portal, that alignment, but looking up at it. Do you see what I'm saying? In the sweat lodge, walking into that point of alignment is like that beam me up. And this is what I'm seeing, is that propulsion from the bottom, and that the healing journey that happens in like this accomplishment, like, oh, I challenged myself, I held my breath as long as I could, and now the need to get fresh air is so compelling. The death cycle is below and the life cycle is above, and so the only choice that one has is to say, I choose life, right? And it sounds silly, but it's the way that the symbol is being conveyed to me. And then once we get through that ring of fire, it's like, then we can take that enormous breath. When I just said that I saw 3131, and I don't see 31 here, but anyways, so I'm seeing that point of emergence coming out of the toxic past, or the heaviness of the journey, or the sleepful cycle of unconsciousness or disillusionment, or just the casting off of those. It's like not even casting off, but it's the exchange of data and exchange of energetics and emotional fluctuation that happens when we release our wounds and introduce healing. It's like it doesn't go anywhere until we do something with it. And maybe that's why so many of us have the urge to go deep and to look at it and to immerse ourselves in it. But I'm seeing this as that breakthrough, that ring of fire, and this bubble that is emerging. It's like peeling the onion back, and the divine matrix that has been supporting us is going to continue to do so. But it's as though in this higher altitude, it's that thinning of the air that happens at the top of the mountain, that it's having an impact here. And I'm seeing the energetic exchange as us allowing spirit and allowing our delightful nature to accept more healing and to squeeze out the illusion of suffering as we move further and further into this. And yeah, maybe some of you too are sitting with incense or burning sacred herbs, or maybe indulging in some type of smoke or something here, because I'm kind of seeing this like a gassing off process after, like coffee beans, when they're heated up and roasted. You can't package them right away because there's still gas being, it's a chemical process. When you heat the bean and the oils are heated up to a certain temperature, then it takes a number of hours for it to cool down, and then it takes a number of, maybe like a day or however many days, based on whatever process you're doing, to then gas fully off. All of those gases are still alchemizing and still coming out, and if you don't gas it off, it will pop. Oh, and this is a side note. I was just talking with my daughter recently how on so many different depictions and cartoons and things, I know cartoons can sometimes be so gross in their ideas, but they'll show some kind of cartoon overeating to the point where they explode, and that's a gross depiction to me. But even Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, where that girl does something and the choice and the consequence is that she eats something that she was told not to, and then at the end she blows up to the size of an enormous big blue ball, and she has to be juiced or something like that. I think that's the more modern than the traditional version, but many of you can see what I'm saying. It's like you can take that on the very third dimensional level. And so the Divine Matrix is talking about that we have unlimited possibilities, and in the moment, in the flow, as we put our perceptions on things, we can look at the next stepping stone in the in the river, and then take this leap, this quantum leap from one to the next, and feel like this anti-gravity moment where it's not the water maybe that's supporting you, but the air around you, the space between molecules, and perhaps the black matter of the universe supporting us energetically as we trust and as we believe, being able to leap further than we have before, feeling trust and support in the universe, knowing that the ground isn't going to give way below our feet, but that if we take that next step towards our delight and our destiny, to empower our choices, to empower our trust and belief in ourself and in our steps and in our sure-footedness, in our clarity, and in our nature of self-worth and deserving nature. It's like the cosmos are allowing us that extra hang time to go further than humanly possible in the moment, and this confidence in your magic, the magician's sword. It's like making a pact, almost like being knighted in Arthurian lore, where they put the sword on either side and a W knight or a knightly or whatever they would say. In this way, I'm seeing this as the ability to cut through illusion, to cut through stagnation. I'm seeing the yellow around that sword and the orange giving way to the white over here. And it's like what we've been talking about. Oh, and in the sand below it, there's a swirl there. Do you see that down below it here? I'm sensing almost that that's what is above us. It's like as we rise out of this portal, perhaps with the assistance of a gatekeeper, of an ancestor, it could be a spiritual being, a guide, a spirit guide, or however you believe, whatever you're connecting with, or your higher self. In that moment, it's like, have you ever seen that depiction of somebody arising out of something, and then at the last minute they grab that sword, the hilt of the sword, and they're like, ah! There's this aspect of our superhero self emerging and coming up from the ashes, maybe like a phoenix rising again and again. And I'm sensing that this sword it's not only our voice, but I'm really sensing Archangel Michael, because Archangel Michael comes through with throat chakra, the blue ray for those on the 7 ray, and the magician's sword. I sense that this is Archangel Michael's sword, and it's the sword of truth, clarity, justice, equality, getting what we deserve, using our voice to advocate for ourselves, to show respect, and to also surrender in the moment. Sorry, call coming through. Get to that later. And so I'm sensing that this is a point of the choice is the rededication to our spiritual quest. And in this, it's like we're stepping into an even greater ability to convey our thoughts and our symbol language, getting a bigger audience, or gathering with larger groups. but I'm sensing that we're getting a tool handed to us. And with that rattle, and I'm sensing, and I was, the other day, I got the drum and I was delayed, and then I got my drum and my rattle, and I was like, well, maybe I'm supposed to be gathering my tools. I feel like that's it's part of the message. Like, those of you that are identifying with being on the blue ray particularly, or identify with Archangel Michael, especially maybe Taurians, because Taurus is ruled by the throat chakra, and this throat chakra is the 5th chakra, the number also of the Hierophant, which is one of the cards in the major arcana of the tarot that depict Taurus, and Taurus as a messenger, as a channel of the divine. And in the deck, it's shown as a as a religious figure, but I feel that often Archangel Michael is not a religious figure as much as an energetic depiction of spirituality. I create the distinction between formal organized religion, which is more third dimensional and ruling by those things that ultimately have attempted to shape us in the image of someone else's morality, and then our willingness to be shaped to want so desperately to walk in greatness, to then adopt somebody else's mold in place of our own voice, and then taking that and going through this touch point of actually the awareness of your own subjective and very highly personal spiritual authority and wisdom, and then being called to use your voice or your journey, your purpose, written word, spoken word, your singing voice, or your ability to connect with others, even strangers in the moment, or to even use your voice in private or with the spirit or with animals. We saw that familiar card, to heal yourself and heal others and create that activation code for others. As we receive activation code, we are then charged with this energy, and then it's in our hands, and then we are able, and I'm feeling the tingle right now as the Reiki is like, yes, do you want that on? Yes, Reiki, turn that on. And it starts to tingle, and I feel that flush through the system that says, yes, I'm ready to give this out to someone else. I have received, and in my receiving, I am full. And in my fullness, what would I want except to share my overflowing abundance with someone else? So there's definitely something here where you're coming through, and that sword is slicing through anything that has been hampering your journey, and cutting through the extraneous elements and creating a very clear and precise aligned way forward. And with Tree of Life, I'm seeing you guys as major karmic breakers, chain breakers in your family line. I think a lot of us are on the journey of awakening, and even those family members that are starting their journey way behind us or seemingly will never change. It's like being able to witness the ties that bind us and the roots that connect us, even to those that are hardest for us to appreciate, or the furthest in the depths of their suffering and despair, and to rise above that without disowning and othering. And what I mean by that is to polarize into a judgment mind about the hows, the whys, the what if, and the past and the future timelines. We can see that all in the moment of alignment. The only way we can see through the illusion is to stay present in our abundance and in our divine prosperity, and to trust that those stepping stones are exactly divinely placed in the moment. And in that moment, it's like our magic just steps forth, and we become it's almost like childlike and renewed in the moment. So yeah, it's time to replenish. It's time to recognize that something has nothing left to give, and to push off of that and up into our full alignment through that intentionality, and recognize the fullness. And this may be our own activation, and then witnessing it happening through others. And I'm also seeing that the ancestors, the powers that be, are watching our transformation and our choices, and not in this like judgmental way like we're taught in organized religion. And I remember this Matt Kahn broadcast where he was saying, we always want to ask. It was the question that we need to stop asking was like, how am I doing? How am I doing? Well, we're all doing as best as we can with what we're given. And when we deviate from what the preference is, we get some lessons, we get the ramifications. And if we can, that transpersonal, like we can adopt the divine masculine, divine feminine, the divine mind that is more neutrally not charged and judgmental, and feeling like we have to micromanage our children and our friends and family on social media platforms, and even if we don't hold them in judgment with our voice, it's still this belief or something. Transpersonal is like being able to step back from that point of judgment, which is the fourth dimension. It's the frictional space between the third dimension and the upper dimensions. It's not like we go anywhere. It's a point of expansion beyond the shell. It's the breakthrough point where the divine matrix was limiting our perception of these things based on our choices and our need to internalize and break through our own self-judgments, our own self-dilemmas. And once we break through our self-dilemmas, then exponentially as we go within, we also can witness the outside. Oh, if I had that much delusion, imagine what this guy over here is possibly going through. And instead of judging them and telling them everything that's wrong with themselves and putting them in cognitive resistance, if we, instead of building the resistance between others, if we allow ourselves that flow, and then we can allow our gentle divine nature to activate other people by acceptance. It's not about your beliefs are wrong. It's, wow, I appreciate you showing me a different perspective. Sometimes I have trouble seeing another person's perspective. It's interesting. I wonder if you could tell me more. Or I wonder if you feel that some of that came from an outside source, such as like your religious upbringing. How does that impact your decision in that? How do your parents feed into that situation, right? And so we can verbalize these things if the time and space is there, but we don't need to, right? But allowing ourselves to question our judgment allows us that time and space of extreme breakthrough and connectivity with others that are quite different. So yeah, becoming transpersonal, not taking it so personally, not believing that everybody is at the same place or should be at the same place because, not everybody has even seen the same shows or seen the same groups of people. Some people never leave their hometown. Some people never leave their house. So putting that in perspective, their world is quite small. And when we come in and we try to say, oh, well, outside in the world, there's this huge revolution. These people are like, not in my world, there's not. My world consists of this comfort zone. And so we can't come in and say, but you need to be a part of the revolution, because that person isn't there and it doesn't exist for them. They literally are someplace else. they're maybe even underneath the sidewalk. I see this sidewalk as a spiral around, you know, like we've been spiraling on this walkway around and around. And so it's something definitely about allowing others to be where they're at, allowing ourselves to be where we're at. So I want to just finish this up. I think let's get from this blended deck of Kuan Yin and Kali deck some oracle cards to finish this up. I want to ask specifically for the ancestors to speak through these cards and give us whatever we need to know here. Yes, it's this transition of moving into our point of destiny. I feel like now that we have this sword, it's part of our spiritual toolbox. Like whether you're feeling as though you're a spiritual lie detector or something, moving forward with grace and courage. So this, on the bottom of the deck, number 15, the Ivory Swan Goddess, is taking a moment, feeling perhaps defeated by the situation. I feel like this is the moment at the bottom of the well, just before recognizing our strength and power. And I see this figure often as someone who needs to eat more or put on some weight, somebody who may be recovering from an illness where they lost a tremendous amount of weight or didn't have an appetite, or has difficulty putting on weight. Now, I don't fall into that category, but take that as a symbol as well. So we can eat and eat and eat and until we're so full to bursting, but still crave something. And if you haven't put that together for yourself, it's often because we're feeding the wrong need. The stomach may be full, but are your cells actually receiving your electrolytes? Are your cells receiving enough protein, enough minerals and nutrients and vitamin content? And even if you're supplementing with vitamins, your biochemistry needs to be in a specific space to absorb those vitamins. And certain vitamins you can take too much of, and they can accumulate and cause other problems. So the other thing is like, so more nutritious food, a cleanse perhaps, cleansing out the toxins, introducing lots more water, and allowing that tower moment to fall. I'm seeing that her necklace is behind her, so maybe like removing the jewels, the egoic evidence of our accomplishments, and just going into our authentic self, you know, like the no makeup, the no jewelry. And I kept thinking, like, do I need a necklace today? And honestly, I'm going to go in the garden and do other things today, so I decided, no, I'll just do my thing. But maybe this is part of the message. It's like the jewels being part of like the yoke of responsibility, like should I or shouldn't I? And what's under the deck here, or under what fell out rather? The number 9 is 8 immortals. So I'm seeing the 8 immortals as a card of the life experiences that are feeding into ours. It may be our ancestors living their lives and influencing their children and their children's children, and our forefathers and foremothers, and then ultimately our parents. And even if you're adopted, the biochemistry coming down the line, and then the nurtured reality that is coming through their lines and nurturing us, and then society at large, that larger harmonic that then we We see all this reality TV. That does not appear anywhere close to the reality I live. So much drama and toxicity, and people that play those roles out of obligation to whatever are hiding from themselves. And I don't believe that many of those people actually want to be that way. They think that that's the way they're supposed to be, or that other people will like them, and so they paint that picture that that's who they are. So I'm sensing that this Eight Immortals is talking about that accumulated experience through your bloodlines and your nurturing lines, as well as your soul, accumulated soul destiny. So it's something I'd like to read what it says in this book. Just the synopsis real quick. So, number 9. The Eight Immortals. This message, let me just show it to you while I speak on it. The messages you've been receiving that are unconditionally loving, fearless, and encouraging of you to grow and to be your true self, the soul self, are from your higher guidance. The Eight Immortals and other beings of divine light and divine love are guiding you. It's safe to follow these messages now. Doing so will bring you greater joy. Delight, greater joy. I love it. And then this ivory swan goddess. The ivory swan goddess speaks of spiritual grace and purity. The purity of your soul light never fades, beloved. So here she is again. But I'm feeling this, the soul light that shines through. The purity of your soul light never fades, beloved. Release guilt, shame, judgment, or fear that you're not enough in any way, so that you may realize your beauty. Be more of yourself and shine your divine essence into the world. So yeah, it's gathering the everything that you can speak into reality and going out and just doing it, you know? All right, and to represent our divine masculine, I'll go ahead and pick a Tao message as well. Tao Te Ching. There we go. So there's actually 3 here. We're already at. Okay, I'm going to read just this. No, I can't help myself. 65. The ancient masters didn't try to educate the people, but kindly taught them to not know. When they think that they know the answers, people are difficult to guide. When they know that they don't know, people can find their own way. If you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. Take off the necklace, the yoke of responsibility. If you want to learn how to govern, avoid being clever or rich. The simplest pattern is the clearest. Content or content with an ordinary life, you can show all people the way back to their own true nature. Beautiful, right? That's the confidence in your magic, has nothing to prove, and accepts people how they show up. And I wanted to just real quickly, if you don't know the Dunning-Kruger effect, it's those people that often know the most are so aware of what they don't know. They're very modest and humble, and they will downplay their authority publicly or socially. Those people that know the least are most confident, and they will often place their confidence everywhere and think that others don't know the answers. So confidence in your magic comes through the humility somehow. It's through the awareness in the moment of who and how and what you are, right? So in pursuit of knowledge, 48, in pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. True mastery can be gained by letting things go their own way. It can't be gained by interfering. Yes, allow whatever is romancing you to develop and to grow to its prosperity and to its harvest season as it is in its state of becoming, not because you're pushing it and trying to mold it, right? Number 8. So that's interesting that we had 8 immortals, which was the 9, which always kind of changes what I think about it. It should be the 9, right? Or it shouldn't be the 9, it should be the 8. Anyways, the 8. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you're content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. Beautiful. 27 under the deck here, last card. A good traveler has no fixed plans and is not intent upon arriving. A good artist lets his intuition lead him wherever it wants. A good scientist has freed himself of concepts and keeps his mind open to what is. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He's ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. Love it. Thank you, ancestors. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? Didn't we say that wasn't our job? But to show them back to their self and to the spark of love and delight. If you don't understand this, you will get lost. However intelligent you are, it is the great secret. Maybe that's what I'll name this. The Great Secret. Sounds mysterious, like clickbait. Naming these is often the hardest thing that I have to do. Anyways, I so appreciate all of you guys. It felt like a very important message today. Such as hydrate and drink lots of water. I do believe I'm going to leave these cards out and do a reading next based upon this, specifically from the ancestors. So if you did enjoy this, look for the ancestral read directly following this. Or perhaps dated the same day. I do intend these all to be timeless, but it should be June 21st of 2022 ancestral reading. If it is to happen, we'll see. So please do consider liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting below something that is moving within you, something profound, and speaking upon that activation and that epiphany moment. Tell me about your strengths. Tell me about what you are ready to do with your life. Claim your prosperity and that awareness that you're perfectly positioned for your prosperous cycle to begin, because you are definitely stepping through that portal now, or you're have just stepped through with this solstice gateway and into the next level. So take care of yourself, check out that other reading, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye.